Hey, this is specifically a shout out to our 4 students that are in the Western Ministries Institute, but this is really for anybody. I know they have a paper that's due here soon, and I know they're going to use my library, maybe Pastor Jim's library. And so I want to do a series of videos, real brief videos, to help you with some of the tools that are in my library and get you exposed to those things. And so here we are. This is the first one. We're going to talk about commentaries. Now, we know that exegesis means to expound out of the text. Eisegesis means to read into the text. So you're going to be doing exegesis, and you're going to be doing some things about how to get the context and the history of a passage. And one of the tools that we use for that are Bible commentaries. Bible commentaries are a great tool for research. And so what I want to do is expose you to the different types of Bible commentaries, and especially the ones that I have in my library that'll be helpful. Now, a commentary normally has 3 sections to it. Okay, now track with me. I'm not going to try to lose you. The first section is called, the fancy term is prolegomena. Prolegomena. It's a fancy word, theological term for introduction. All a prolegomena is the introduction. And what's the introduction about? It's the introduction from the authors or the editors or the scholars who have contributed to that commentary. They're telling you what the purpose of the commentary is. And then they're also setting the stage of the introduction for the book, the prolegomena. What does that mean? Well, if you're studying the book of Romans, it will tell you the history of Romans. When did Paul preach there? What was the cultural context? What was some of the political context, the religious context? What was the population of Rome? It's going to give you a cultural look at the context of the book, but it's a cultural socio, or it's going to give you the grammar. In other words, there are some that are going to specifically focus in on the language of that area, of that region, which was Koine Greek, which is the common Greek language of the day, if you're in the New Testament, right? Or Aramaic. There's some Aramaic that we have in the New Testament. And so it's going to give you all that kind of explanation that you can do your research about the book itself and a broader context to the book. So the second part is what is known as the guide point, or the symbology for the book, where the author may use different symbols and he wants you to know what the different symbols are. And then he's going to tell you what the formatting of the commentary is. Is it going to be taking phrases out of the text? Is it going to be taking whole sentences out of the text? Or is it going to be taking whole passages where you have a whole verse and it'll just delineate that verse? Because each commentary will take it differently. And that means it comes to the next point that I want to make. What kind of commentaries are there? Well, let me give you the first type of commentary. This is William Barclay's set that's in my library. It's a devotional commentary. And what a devotional commentary is, it's for devotions. It's not really for academic, even though it is academic. But it's not, the purpose of the book is not for academic reading. It's for a devotional rendering. William Barclay is an interesting guy. A lot of evangelical Bible-believing people will use him. But let me tell you something about William Barclay. He struggled with the incarnation. The immaculate conception of Jesus being conceived of a virgin. He really battled with some of the miraculous. You see, some of these authors have biases. And so one of the things about commentaries that you want to know is, what's the bias of the author? Well, if you're going to be doing some of the supernatural workings of Jesus, you're not going to use William Barclay. And if you're doing an academic writing, you're not going to use William Barclay, because it's a devotional commentary. So that's the first type of commentary. Now, here's the second, and it's a little bit more rigid. You're probably not going to start with these right away, is a critical commentary. Now, there's 2 types of critical commentaries. One is a hybrid critical commentary, which will get into the Greek, but it translates everything already in the English. You could use that because you don't have to read Greek to understand it. Does that make sense? The other one is like this. This is my International Critical Commentary set. If you are going to be using this commentary, you have to be able to read the Greek language in order to use it. So where you're at now, this is probably not the tool that you want to use. I do have some hybrids. For instance, one of the commentary sets that are in my library is a Tyndale commentary set. Tyndale is a hybrid. It'll give you the Greek words, but everything's translated in English, so you don't have to do any translation work. So there you have a critical commentary, but you don't have to read the original language to be able to use it. This is a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Then there's what is known as an expositional commentary. Exposition means that the commentary was probably written off a series of sermons that the writer used. You know, one of them is Barnes. Donald Gray Barnhouse's great 4-volume work on Romans is an expositional commentary. You could use it for academics because there is academic understanding here, but know this, that you're reading somebody who was preparing this commentary, and it was his research as he was preaching through the book. And that's what an expositional commentary is. And it almost reads like a sermon. Like you're reading. Another one is Martin Lloyd-Jones's Sermon on the Mount. It's a multi-volume commentary set that's an expositional commentary set, which is, remember the word exposition means to speak, to exposit, to, you know, so that's an expositional commentary. I hope this is helpful to you. Now, there's another kind of commentary, and it's somewhat expositional, but it really is academic. It's another form of hybrid because you don't need to know the Greek to be able to use it. And so I'm going to call it basically what it is. It's a hybrid commentary. And in a hybrid commentary, you're going to get great scholarship, but you're not going to have to read, if it's Old Testament, the Hebrew, or in the New Testament, the Greek. And a great hybrid commentary set that I have here in my library is the New International Commentary set. This is a great treatise. This is Gordon Fee's great volume work on the book of Corinthians. If you were going to do something on spiritual gifts, for instance, this is the commentary that you would use because it breaks it down. And so that's another commentary. Now, I'm going to show you something. This commentary, remember the word I gave you, prolegomena, the introduction? It gives you probably in a hybrid, you're going to get the most detailed introductions, and it's going to give you what different scholars are saying, and even the different times that writers basically think that the book was written. Now, you want to be careful with that, and this is where we can, Pastor Jim Wells, Doug Talks, any of the people that have had any training with this, we can help you with this. You got to know the author. Gordon Fee is very conservative, so he's going to give you good introductory comments on the cultural setting of Corinth. And the reason why it's important in terms of dates, some writers, especially in the Old Testament, will change the dates of some books because they don't believe in the supernatural prophetic aspect. Oh, you know what? Jeremiah couldn't have written this so many years before this prophecy came to pass. And so they change the dates because they're redactionists. And what it means to redact is they use a form of criticism. Criticism is not someone with a critical spirit, but it's a group of scholars that their bias is they don't take prophetic literature and see it as being accurate, so they change the dates of some of the writing. Excuse me. So that's a hybrid. Then there's an application. I'm sorry, excuse me. There's an application commentary. Application commentaries you can use. It's more for sermons. I don't like them, and I'll tell you why, because it already biases me to what I'm feeling the Holy Spirit is saying or the text. But they're not bad. And with an application, Warren Wiersbe is a great application commentary writer. He'll take all of the technical information and then he writes to the application of the passage. Now, this is where you would use an application commentary. You prepared your message, you got your notes in front of you, just to make sure you're not completely off on the meaning of the passage. You might check an application or even an expositional commentary to just make sure that you're not inventing something that's never been thought of. Because remember what Solomon says, there's nothing new under the sun. So I want to make sure. So those are the different type of commentaries. I have all those commentaries in my library. And when you do your paper, I'll sit down. I'll help you as much as possible. I know Pastor Jim, the other members of the team. But I wanted to get you acquainted to some of the language. Don't be intimidated by it, because once you start learning the tools, you're almost like a Columbo. And that's what I love about exegesis. You're like a detective, and you're trying to find out information that's going to help you draw out the meaning of the text. And so that's kind of the fun stuff with all of this. So I hope this is helpful for you in the Western Ministry Institute. Please give me feedback. If you're not, and you're watching this and you're part of our leadership community or just part of our church, because I'm going to put this as a public video, please feedback to me. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comment or you can email me, and I would love to answer your questions. Hey, I hope you have a great day, and I hope this was helpful to you. God bless you.